In my role as a seminar leader and professional speaker, I'm often asked by young people and new leaders, how can I get respect from others, especially those who are older or more experienced than I am? It's a simple answer, really, at least on the surface. To get respect, what do you have to do? Well, you have to give it. I can hear Homer Simpson again. No shortcuts. To build respect, you have to be worthy of respect. It is exactly the same with trust and loyalty. To build trust, you have to be worthy of trust, and to build loyalty, you have to be worthy of loyalty. Recently, I overheard a conversation on a plane leaving South Bend, Indiana, home to the University of Notre Dame. Two men, one younger and one older, sat one row behind me and engaged in a conversation that lasted the entire hour-long flight. These two men had apparently never met until they happened to be seated next to one another. They shared their commonalities, including their faith and their career paths. But what really struck me was the apparent respect the younger man showed his elder and how the elder responded in kind. Though I wasn't purposely listening to them or even trying to listen, I couldn't help but overhear the thread of the entire exchange in that closed environment of the airplane. My ears perked up, though, when I heard one of them say, "I'm finding it's a great way to break down the silos in my company." What were they talking about? The younger man was telling the older man how he had invited the managers of two other departments at his company to join a couple of his department's team meetings, and how valuable an experience it had been. He didn't use the term collaborative leadership, but what he was talking about clearly fit the mold. He said it was great for the other managers to hear firsthand how their decisions affected the employees in another department. That's what we mean when we talk about breaking down silos, where information tends to be hoarded and not regularly shared across the board. At its worst, it can lead to breakdowns in the communication process and internal and external team dysfunction. Unfortunately, as you know, in so many of today's companies, it's nearly impossible to break through the vertical hierarchy and actually have any information shared horizontally. Though I never saw the faces of those two men until the plane actually landed, the conversation I heard that day on the plane really stuck with me. How do you know if you have what it takes to be a collaborative leader? Well, let me tell you first, egotists may not apply. Effective collaborative leaders are emotionally intelligent and instinctively realize that they don't necessarily have all the answers and that they need other people and their talents. That becomes apparent in the 5 key traits displayed by the most successful collaborative leaders. Here they are. They're willing to take risks and try something new. They're eager listeners. They're able to share knowledge and power and credit. They have passion for the cause. They are optimistic about the future. Pessimists don't like this one. I'm reminded of another Dale Carnegie quote here. Any fool can criticize, condemn, and complain, and most fools do. If you happen to be sitting next to one who fits that description right now, please resist the urge to poke them in the ribs. Egotistical people who enjoy leadership only because of the perceived power it confers on them may have a little bit of trouble with these 5 characteristics. These will serve you well in your professional life even if you currently don't even have a title. They'll serve you well if you work in business, in government, or in the social sector. And they will serve you well if you labor in public and private partnerships too. So instead of trying to curry favor so that you can get a raise or a new position, show yourself worthy. The ability to listen non-judgmentally is critical, as is the ability to willingly share knowledge, power, and credit. I recently read a really interesting case study about 2 communities' efforts to address teen pregnancy, and it shows the interesting interplay between traditional and collaborative leadership. In the town of Putnam, the mayor decides that teen pregnancy is a real problem and that makes the town look bad. So he appoints an aide to assemble and head up a coalition of the schools, the police, town officials, and the directors of the hospital and a couple of agencies that work with teens. He instructs his aide to have the coalition come up with a list of remedies that he is sure will take care of the problem and improve his town's image. So the aide summons the members of the coalition to a meeting, explains what the mayor wants, and quickly gets it, over objections from one of the agency directors that the problem is really complex and needs more exploration. The coalition's report is issued, and its major recommendations are published in the local paper. Its various elements are quickly put into place, and the coalition, after only a few meetings, disbands. Down the road in the town of George City, another group of teenage parents and the parents of the teens have also been meeting to talk about the teen pregnancy issue. They enlist everyone they can think of who's affected by the issue: teen parents themselves and others at risk, concerned parents, school and local officials, health providers, agencies involved with teens and with family planning, and others to work on the problem. This group is facilitated by the head of a youth leadership agency, a woman respected by both teens and the community. She leads a process that, beginning with an effort to find ways to keep teen parents in school, comes up with a multi-pronged effort, including both support for pregnant and parenting teens and prevention. The original group, far from disbanding, continues to gather members and meets regularly to monitor and adjust the current effort and to address other youth issues in the community. Would it surprise you to learn that after 2 years there had been no reduction, a slight increase, in fact, in the Putnam teen pregnancy rate? Would it surprise you to learn that the George City rate had fallen dramatically over the same period? The difference was in who took the lead in each case and in the process itself. Now, I can hear you saying, yeah, that's all well and good for community-based health and human planning organizations, but what about corporate America? Good question. What about corporate America? It is practiced in many businesses with great success. Since collaborative leadership is really defined by the process rather than by what leaders actually do, it has a lot in common with what we call servant leadership. Collaborative leadership techniques, like the ones we've already talked about, can be used in almost any situation and is practiced in some businesses with great success. But it's often seen more often in community-based health and human service organizations or in alternative education. It has been used well in many nonprofit organizations, and I've seen it work well in some business partnerships. People often find it particularly useful in situations where no one is in charge, or where there are issues or problems so complex that no one person or entity has either the information or the power to change them. This doesn't mean that no one has the responsibility, but rather that sharing the responsibility for the issue is necessary in order to arrive at a successful resolution.